Sa ngadto-ngadto, ligunon ka sa panahon. Manggihatagon ka. Ania ang kalibutan. Imo kining tanan.
Maayong udto sa ato ang tanan. So hopefully ginahuwat na lang nato ang ato ang uban ng mga participants. Will be readily starting at 1:30 p.m. But before anything else, I would like us to note of specific reminders for this particular webinar. Michael, may I share my screen?
Yes, miss. Okay na, miss.
Okay, so before anything else, I would like to remind that this particular webinar is hosted by the University of the Philippines Cebu through the University of the Philippines Cebu High School Cebu. Alumni will be celebrating our 50th year anniversary coming June 2022. And this webinar is one of the activities as well as the awareness initiatives of the alumni of the University of the Philippines High School Cebu. Let me remind you of the following before we start our short webinar. This webinar will be recorded and we will be keeping tab of the proceedings for this webinar. This is for documentation purposes. And you are free to leave if you feel that you are uncomfortable that this session will be recorded. Okay, again, this webinar will be recorded for documentation purposes. Mute your microphone during the talk because we want to make sure that the speaker's voice is clear to everyone. We have multiple speakers this afternoon, and we want to make sure that everyone will be heard correctly and clearly. Refrain from taking pictures or videos of the talk because if you do so, you will be held accountable for data privacy violations if the copy you have created leaks into the internet outlets. We wish to keep the identity of our participants private, so as yours as well. Don't worry, because if you wanted to review the webinar, we still have a copy there at the YouTube channel of the University of the Philippines Cebu Teaching and Learning Resource Center. Avoid using the annotation tool during the webinar. Once the annotation tool is activated, you might unconsciously swerve your arrow towards the speaker's presentation and might draw unnecessary lines that may block the participant's view. This may also cause distraction to the participants and the speaker as well. So kindly make sure that you avoid using the annotation tool during the webinar. If you have questions while the talk is ongoing, you may put them in the chat box. We will try as much as possible to accommodate your questions if time permits. After the talk, you will have a chance to ask your question. However, we wish for you to only use the chat box rather than the voice because of our time constraint. And kindly do not forget to evaluate. Your inputs on the webinar will help us improve our next webinars. And after you have answered the forms, you will be given a proof of participation. The evaluation link will be opened right after the webinar and shall remain open for only 30 minutes, which means that you have to evaluate right after the webinar. Make sure that you evaluate right after the webinar. We have a YouTube live stream. Our webinar is currently live streaming on our YouTube channel, the TLRC UP Cebu. For those watching through YouTube, you will be given proof participation by staying until the end of the session because we will be announcing the instruction in the live chat on how to get your certificates. If you have any questions or you wanted to connect with us, especially in our learning and psychosocial development series, as well as sessions, as well as if you wanted to connect with our speakers for today's webinar, you may look out in our socials. We have the Teaching and Learning Resource Center, University of the Philippines, Cebu through Facebook page. We also have the YouTube channel, TLRC UP Cebu. Or you can look at tlrc.upcebu.edu.ph, our website, or directly inform us or connect with us through the email of the TLRC at lrc.upcebu@up.edu.ph. I hope we'll have a very, very good learning activity and learning experience today. And not only learning, but also the spread of awareness with regards to our environment. And also, we would like to celebrate not only the alumni of the University of the Philippines High School Cebu, but the learnings that they have gained throughout the year, and now they are sending it back to us, giving it back to us, sharing to us what they have learned. Thank you so much, Sir Al. I will give the floor to you.
Thank you very much. That's Professor Jera Gumala. She's not only the coordinator of UP Cebu TLRC, but she is also an alumna of UP Cebu High School and a college. And also, she is a biology professor. So this topic is another portion or other dimension of Professor Jera Gumalal. And so, once again, welcome to our episode of, we call it UP High School Cebu Tunog Bulawan series. Tunog is a Cebuano term. It's like you set foot, and Bulawan is gold. So this means, as what Professor Jera Gumalal said, this is our celebration of the UP High School Cebu alumni, Cebu's presence in the Philippines for 50 years. And our episode today is about how does climate change affect you and me? And this is brought to you by UP High School Cebu Alumni Association, UP Cebu Teaching and Learning Resource Center, UP Cebu Office of Continuing Education and Pahinungod, and the UP Cebu Center for Environmental Informatics. So friends, we formally start with the Philippine National Anthem. So please, just pay respect for a Philippine National Anthem. Well, thank you very much. The voice that you saw, I mean, you heard earlier was the UP Cebu Serenata, and UP Cebu Serenata is the official choral group of UP Cebu, and the conductor is Dr. Catherine Goodell. Okay, and now first is we always have this is one thing I like with TLRC event is I see familiar faces. This what the topics would something really be important to them, but it's so nice to see familiar people. Can you please go to the chat box and tell us your location, please? So I know some are as far as okay. Oh yeah, Dan. Hi Dan. Yeah, Dan Cinco, Professor Jero is one of your Sukis. Okay. So Dan Cinco, good afternoon, and he is in the at the NCR. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, and we also have from RTU Rizal Technology University in at the NCR. Thank you very much, Jamaya Daoud. And again, our participants this afternoon are not just from Cebu, but also outside. Yeah, thank you very much. Oh, we have Jamina Daoud from Mindanao State University in Marawi. And we have Sir Melvin is from Bicol University. Melvin Amirado Jr. Well, thank you very much. Now, this afternoon, this is a sharing of what happens to our world because of climate change and what we can do in order to fight this climate change. And oh yes, last na lang. Good afternoon. This is Joshua Banag. Shout out to Joshua Banag from CSU Andrews. Okay, so this topic is very essential to all of us. We understand there's pandemic. We know mental health is equally important together with what can we do to fight this climate change. And we have three important people who shall be talking about their experiences and their research on what they did do in climate change. And we also have reactors to say how they feel about their presentation and also what can they ask in order to address certain issues in their locality. Okay, let's start with our first speaker. So I'll be introducing all the speakers. So speakers, please turn on your camera. So first speaker is Miss Lyle Pelicano Castro. Hi, Miss Lyle. Okay, please spotlight to Miss Lyle. So Miss Lyle Pelicano Castro is currently the Energy Program Manager at Misawa Air Base in Aomori, Japan. And as manager, she's responsible for the design and implementation of programs supporting the base's energy and water goals. She's the construction manager for Bayware. It's a global renewable energy developer service provider where she managed wind projects, namely Strauss Wind Project in California and Amadeus Wind Project in Texas. She spent 12 years working for EDF Renewables. This is a leading independent power producer and service provider based in San Diego, California, where she led numerous solar and wind projects in Minnesota, Illinois, New Mexico, and Alberta, Canada. She's earning her doctorate degree in social impact management and has earned her MBA in finance both in Walden University in Minneapolis. So, maayong hapon, Miss Lyle. Okay.
So,
And yes, and we also have Attorney Glenda Bathan Baterina. Okay. Hello, Attorney Glenda. Okay. So Attorney
hello.
Glenda is the Deputy Director of Clean Air Asia. She's a lawyer with 20 years of experience in policy and program development for clean air, sustainable transport, industrial emissions control, and climate change mitigation. She has led the Asia Clean Fuels and Vehicles Program, which resulted in national policies and roadmaps for cleaner fuels and vehicles, notably for Vietnam and the Philippines. This is one thing we really admire. In 2020, she was named one of the remarkable women in transport by the Transformative Urban Mobility Initiative. Glenda holds a master's degree in environmental management from the Ateneo de Manila University and the University of San Francisco and bachelor's of law from the University of the Philippines. And she is an advanced water scuba diver. So friends, once again, please help me welcome Attorney Glenda. Hi, Attorney Glenda. Good afternoon. Okay. She is in Ilocos. Okay, so first this is from Japan. Now we have Ilocos. And coming up next, we have another lawyer. His name is Attorney John Mingito. Hi, Attorney John.
Hi,
Okay.
sir. Good afternoon.
Hello, maayong hapon. Well, Attorney John works as the managing trustee of the Philippine Earth Justice Center. This is a group of lawyers pushing for the full implementation of the Philippine environmental laws. He obtained his Juris Doctor degree from the University of Cebu School of Law, where he's currently a young professor and the director for its Office of the Legal Aid. Attorney John is also a certified coach by John Maxwell Training Institute since 2018, after having obtained the John Maxwell Leadership Certification Program at Orlando, Florida. Attorney John was my student in grade 8. Okay, so once again, so that's Attorney John. And now let's talk about renewable energy in the context of the world. And this is to be given by our first speaker. Friends, please help me welcome Attorney Lyle. Hello, Attorney Lyle. Sorry, Miss Lyle. Miss Lyle. Hello, Miss Lyle.
Hello. Okay, I'll start sharing my screen.
Okay.
All right, I'm here to talk about renewable energy, how renewable energy can be a mitigation solution to the drastic climate change. What is climate change? Climate change is a natural phenomenon. The Earth has gone through the cooling and warming process. We've gone through several of those. I don't know if the young ones right now in the audience have seen the movie Ice Age, the cartoon movie, but that's what I remember showing my kids when they were young. But that is, I think that is a statement of how the Earth went through there. We went through the Ice Age and we went through what we are experiencing now. And this is all natural. But what has happened right now in what we're feeling right now is the global warming, which is caused by human activities or what we call anthropogenic climate change. So what are these anthropogenic climate change? These are basically the burning of the fossil fuels. And what are fossil fuels is this, the sources are coal, oil, gas. And what do we use them for? We use them primarily for energy, to produce electricity, not in the Philippines, but most of the colder countries, they use it for heating. Fossil fuels are also used for transportation, airplanes, cars, motorbikes, boats, you name it, right? And also fossil fuels are used to create products that we normally use daily. We call it plastic. And going back to my first topic that I talked about, which is the natural phenomenon, we have skeptics out there that will primarily use that as an excuse. Oh, this is natural. Earth goes through a natural cycle of cooling and warming. Why make a big deal out of it? We do have to make a big deal out of it because the burning of the fossil fuel produces carbon dioxide and increases the greenhouse gas concentration on the Earth atmosphere. And that is what's causing the global warming. Here in this slide, I am showing the global temperature since 1880, and you can really see the dramatic increase over this century. And this graph is taken by NASA, the Goddard Institute of Space Studies. So China, US, and the European nations are the main polluters of carbon dioxide. And those countries need to step up and play a pivotal role in preventing the global warming, while the Philippines is one of those countries that are impacted by the global warming. The Philippines will eventually see or is seeing the rising of the sea level. So I'm showing over here the scientific evidences and the effect of climate change. I said earlier, there's rising temperature. We have longer summers. The ocean water temperature is rising as well. The ice sheets in Arctic Ocean, Antarctica, and the Greenland, they're melting. And then the ice that we see on the mountains, like the Himalayas, Mount Everest, they're slowly diminishing. So these are one of the evidence that we're seeing for global warming. And I want to also talk about the change of the ocean ecosystem. This would probably be impacted by the Filipinos, because the Philippines itself is surrounded by water. We primarily get our food source from the ocean, and the warming effect on the ocean will eventually erode our food supply unless we do something about it. We are also seeing the extreme weather patterns. In the Philippines, we are seeing strong typhoons. California is going through the drastic wildfires. In the Midwest, we have a lot of tornadoes, and the East Coast, we're seeing the East Coast of in the US. I'm sorry if I'm talking about I'm using the US as a primary example here. In the East Coast, you're seeing a lot of the hurricanes. So what can we do to mitigate global warming? One of them, of course, is the use of renewable energy. This is not new to the Filipinos. It's not new to the US. It's not new to the European countries. But we have to advocate. We have to step up and advocate for renewable energy to be the primary source. So where do we get renewable energy from? Renewable energy, we get them from wind, we get them from solar, hydro, tidal, geothermal, and biomass. And I'll give you some examples later on. And why are these sources called renewable? Because they can sustain itself. It renews, the sources renews by itself, and they do not emit greenhouse gases. So here is an example of the wind energy that we have already in the Philippines. This is in Rizal, wherein wind is harnessed and the turbine, the wind blades turn around and causes energy, and it's entered into the generator to generate electricity. We have solar energy. In here, sunlight shines on the solar PVs, and then it's converted into electricity. According to the PV magazine, the Philippines has installed a total of 1.06 gigawatts so far. And we had the Renewable Energy Act of 2008 that encouraged the development of renewable energy in the Philippines. And per the news that I've seen so far, Meralco is planning to build a floating solar project. So solar energy is abundant in the Philippines. Now I'm going to talk hydro. I'm showing you a picture of Magat Dam. I'm sorry if I'm saying Magat Dam. Sorry for the accent there, where we use the water flow from the dam or river, and it is controlled, and then the flow of the water drives a turbine to generate electricity. And again, the Philippines is rich with these resources. Another one is tidal energy. This is something I'd like to advocate and would be very happy to see the development of tidal wave in the Philippines. There were studies already wherein they identified areas in the Philippines that can be tapped for tidal energy. We have several areas around Siargao Island, San Bernardino Strait near Samar. We have Basilan Strait between Zamboanga and Basilan. We have San Juanico Strait between Samar and Leyte. And then near at home in Cebu, we have the Basiao Channel and the Cebu Strait. The water between Cebu and Bohol is a potential site for tidal energy. And another source of renewable energy is geothermal. And we're seeing that in Leyte. Leyte is a big source of geothermal energy. In a study conducted in 1993, the Philippines was the third largest producer of electricity from geothermal source after the US and Mexico. But currently, the Philippines falls behind Indonesia, so we Filipinos have to step up. The reason why geothermal is a good source for energy is because the Philippines is located in the rings of fire, they call that, where the fault is rich with volcanic activity. And right now, there is a 60 megawatt Mahandagdong geothermal plant in Leyte, and that is one of the geothermal fields that's already producing electricity. Biomass. This is not new to the Filipinos. We do use biomass, not primarily, we call it energy still. We primarily use biomass for cooking. And there is a 40 megawatt biomass plant in Victoria City, Negros, where they use the byproducts of the sugarcane to produce energy. So why is there an urgent need to address the issue? Like the topic of this webinar, it affects you and me and the future generations. We are seeing astronomical economic impact by the global warming, the natural calamities that we're seeing, and there's a high insurance claim related to those. That's an economic impact. And then we see such an inequality shift, a big shift to wherein the poor is really impacted, the rich, because they can afford to either relocate or to do something. They are screened by the impact of global warming. And it could be a political issue that divides our country. And then, of course, there are moral and ethic questions that are being raised. Some people, you've heard of some US politicians, they're advocating to go meatless because they think eating meat that comes from cows, and cows generate and contributes to global warming. So that's one of the moral questions. I said people are dictating on what you can eat and what you cannot eat. You've heard of other politicians that are advocating for population control because they think that, because human activities create global warming. So people believe that they should control population as a solution for global warming. But what can we really do on our own? There's a lot of things that we can do. We can advocate for clean air energy using social awareness by using social media. We can also encourage social activism. Students as a group can raise awareness about the impact of global warming and protest building coal plants. Right now, there is 10 gigawatts in the pipeline, meaning electrical producers are filing for permits for 10 gigawatts. That's a lot of energy producing coming in from fossil fuels. And also know where your electricity comes from, where your energy comes from, and try to advocate within your local district to have them shift their sources more to renewable energy. And one thing is I advocate for the use of public transportation when they're available. And lastly, I advocate for the 3 R's. What are the 3 R's? Reuse, reduce, and recycle. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much. That's Miss Lyle. And yeah, I find the topic very interesting about the tidal energy. So I think it's something maybe hopefully we can explore that in Cebu. And most of all, having cows. I mean, like if the cows can really help in combating this global warming. So hopefully we can maybe have some little cow if possible. So anyway, thank you very much. Now, before there will be a reactor, I'd like to welcome once again I'd like to welcome our principal UP High School Cebu. She was here in the Zoom, but my apologies. I usually call her Dr. Catherine Rodel, but I cannot see her name. So friends, please help me welcome to give her message and welcome remarks. Our principal of UP High School Cebu, Dr. Catherine Rodel. Dr. Catherine Rodel.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello. Spotlights
Yes,
to
sir.
Dr. Rodel, please. Okay.
Yeah, so good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for your attendance for this afternoon. And actually, this webinar is part of our activity in the celebration of the UP High Golden Anniversary come June 2022. And this is part of the celebration so that it will be remembered that we are celebrating the golden anniversary. So thank you, of course, to our speakers and some our own graduate from UP High. And we are very proud of their achievement, as we say, tuno bulawan, bisag asa maabot, kita gihapon mag-abot. And karon nag-abot na juta. Okay, so this afternoon's topic is very significant, not only to you and me and the future generation and our environment, but also to what we are experiencing right now with the COVID pandemic. So the emerging threat posed by COVID-19 pandemic has strongly modified our lifestyle, making urgent to reconsider the human's environment relationships and stimulating towards more sustainable choices in our daily behavior. Scientific evidences show that the onset of new viral pathogens with a high pandemic potential is often the result of complex interactions between animals, humans, and environment. So the measures taken to control the spread of the virus and the slowdown of economic activities have significant effects on the environment. So it is our purpose for this afternoon's webinar to discuss, share, and know the effects and impact to you and me and the future generation, and what we can do to help save the environment so that we can make this world beautiful and comfortable to live in. So again, thank you, and congratulations to the major organizer of this activity, of course, Dr. Alvil Bar. So thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Rodelia. Her welcome remarks is like a reaction to the thank you very much, full of content about pathogens, which I still have to Google more information. Thank you very much, Dr. Rodel. And now to give her reaction, okay, we have another budding scientist. She is also an alumna of UP Cebu. Okay, so, and okay, here. So this will be given by Miss Catherine Alfeche. Okay, just give me a second, please. Okay, so we have Miss Alfeche is a graduate of UP Cebu on BS Biology, and she's currently pursuing her PhD related to biology. And she is currently an instructor of the University of Santo Tomas in Manila. And now she is really doing more related to climate change, and also one of the student leaders when she was in UP High School in Cebu. Friends, please help me welcome the future scientist, Miss Ninya Alfeche. Hi, Ninya.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for giving me the chance to be part of this activity. No, um, um, I'm tasked to react with the presentation of Ms. Lyle. First of all, Ms. Lyle, thank you for that informative presentation, especially for me. I'm a biologist, and this is actually one of our major topics in regards to One Health and Sustainable Development Goals, because we have to remind our society, our students, a younger generation, that climate change is indeed a natural process, and the Earth has been through several climate changes throughout its geologic history. But this concept must be put into the limelight because we are the reason why there is a rapid acceleration of this change. High rates of industrialization, urbanization, and of course, the unprecedented increase of human population is really a big or the major contributing factor why we have higher greenhouse gas emissions that ultimately lead to alterations in our climate. And it is also quite fitting that we discuss the way we obtain and utilize energy, since our economic and societal development depends on these resources. So it's good, ma'am, that you also mentioned that it's not just the fossil fuels, the coal that we can utilize for energy. There are a lot of renewable energy sources that our country can tap. But the problem is it requires quite a bit of a challenge, especially when there is political and economic concerns that we must take into consideration first before we do these projects or make a dam or make these solar panels in different areas of our country. So I'm more concerned of what can our smaller communities do? So my question, ma'am, will be, what can our smaller or less advantaged communities do in order to participate in the use of renewable energy sources? What can they, or what are the steps that they would need to work on for their communities to fully utilize renewable energy? And of course, their own small ways or small steps, kumbaga, on how they can change the way their communities are using up these energy. Or what can you suggest, ma'am?
So what is readily available for the local communities down in the provinces is solar. I would recommend that they group together, have a advocacy group for maybe someone, for a charity, to provide solar panels for them to use, because solar panels are getting cheaper nowadays. It's not a new technology. So we have improved our manufacturing process to make solar panels cheaper nowadays. So it's just a matter of maybe a NGO can provide their own mini electric project within their village or community, so that they can share solar energy from that same site. Another thing is lifestyle change. I know they can, like I said on my last slide, the 3 R's, right? Reuse, reduce, and recycle. That's the first step I think they can do.
Yes, ma'am, I do believe so. That especially that it is our ways that must change first, and of course, contribution of everyone in the society could do or could really create a big change later on. And then I also want to connect it with what Ma'am Rodel mentioned a while ago, that we are indeed in this pandemic, and one of the downsides of the pandemic is, of course, we are restricted to our homes. We need to do online learning. And with online learning, there's also a need for energy in order to support our internet, our discussions, our classes. So with this challenge, ma'am, how do you think we as students or even educators balance out that reuse, reduce, recycle idea and the need for energy of our or the need for energy in order to support our work right now? How can we balance the two? Or what are the small steps or concrete changes that we can also adapt in our lifestyle?
I would go back to what I said earlier. It's just maybe they can have a home solar panel that they can maybe just one and use your car battery, or recycle your car batteries to be able to produce electricity. But I know in the city you probably cannot be using car batteries to charge your computer. You will probably damage your computer eventually because of the different voltage. But again, it's advocacy. I can never reiterate that. Advocate as a group. I mean, a group voice is better than one. And you never know with social media out there, someone out there with the same goal is willing to reach out.
Yes,
do a pilot project anyway in Cebu. You can never tell. But again, venture out and see what you can do as a group, and beat the bushes who might be willing to listen. And I think we've got some speakers in this same webinar that may be able to discuss further how to advocate through the NGO avenue.
Thank you very much. Do you still have time?
No. Yeah, thank you very much. I think you covered really good topics, and thank you for those very practical questions, Nina. And by the way, Nina is currently a PhD student at UP Diliman Institute of Biology, and her focus is on plant development and systematics. Ms. Lan, thank you very much for telling us that solar panels are cheaper now, and hopefully it will be really cheaper in the Philippines, so we have more access to these solar panels. Thank you very much. And now, coming up next after solar panels, we shall be talking how is the air quality in the Philippines. So this will be given by Attorney Glenda Baterina, who is the Deputy Executive Director of Clean Air Asia. But before that, we have some greetings in YouTube. They're watching Professor Erlinda Gallio and Dr. Elisa Lapa. So, maayong hapon. And now, please help me welcome Attorney Glenda. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Suddenly, I'm pressured because one of my teachers, you just greeted her, Professor Lapa. Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone. Yes, so I titled my presentation, Every Breath We Take, the Air Story, because I'm going to be speaking about air pollution and the need for clean air. So why should we care about the quality of air that we breathe? Isn't it that it has been identified that these are the basic needs that we need to survive? We can go without food for 3 weeks. We can go without water for 3 days, and maybe 3 hours without shelter. But then it would be very difficult for us to go without air for more than 3 minutes. And maybe among the young ones among us will say another basic need is internet connection. That has been given to me as an answer to this question, by the way. So what is air pollution? Air pollution is really the contamination of the air that we breathe with substances that are harmful, such as gases, dust, fumes, and odor. So when emissions from different sources of pollution, like motor vehicles, open burning of garbage, or industrial sources like coal-fired power plants, when the emissions exceed the capacity of natural processes to either convert them or to disperse them, then the result is damage to human health and the environment. So in this graph, in this figure on the left-hand side, we see that there are different man-made and natural sources of pollution, and they release substances into the air, which can transform chemically and react to sunlight, and can be impacted by weather and meteorology, temperature and humidity, and result in concentrations that are harmful to humans and to the environment. So there are several major sources that produce key critical or criteria air pollutants. But among these harmful pollutants, particulate matter has been identified as a as one that that can contribute a lot of serious health impacts, especially if they are very fine in diameter. No, so what is particulate matter? It is basically very, very fine dust. So if you can imagine the diameter of human hair is 50 to 70 microns, that's the diameter of human hair, then particulate matter that is 10 microns is 1/5 of the diameter of human hair. And PM 2.5, or particulate matter that is less than 2.5 microns in diameter, is 1/20th the diameter of human hair. So this is very harmful to humans because the finer the particles, the deeper into the lungs they can lodge, and thereby causing cardiovascular disease or even certain types of strokes. And diabetes has been identified to be also related to or a cause or a result of air pollution exposure. And based on studies or analysis of the air pollution levels in Asian cities, 90% of Asian cities actually do not meet the health-based World Health Organization annual air quality guideline for ultrafine particles, or particulate matter 2.5. This is an actual photo which I took in Pakistan in one of our projects, where this was very early in the morning, and you could barely see the vehicle in front of you. So among the vulnerable sectors or populations in society to the impacts of air pollution are children and the elderly and those with existing illnesses. If we look at this graphic from the WHO, a child who is exposed to unsafe levels of pollution can face a lifetime of health impacts, starting from its exposure in the womb or early childhood. Their lungs can be stunted in growth or have reduced lung function. And as they grow older, there could be impairment in mental development. They could be born with low birth weight. They could have childhood cancers, and as they grow up to become adolescents and adults, they could have increased risk of heart disease, diabetes, and stroke. So this is the real reason why we should really address levels of air pollution in the air. Now, in addition, and in relation to the presentation of Lyle earlier, as you can see, the sources of air pollution are also mostly the same sources for greenhouse gas emission, which cause global warming or climate change. So what are these sources? Transport emissions, so motor vehicles that run on fossil fuels like gasoline and diesel, or even compressed natural gas, they all combust fossil fuels and release emissions in the tailpipe. Power plants, if they run on fossil fuels, whether coal or natural gas, also emit air pollutants and greenhouse gas emissions. Household emissions, from our cooking using biomass, so wood and charcoal used in cooking can emit the air pollutants, and factories that use coal in boilers or oil in their boilers can release similar pollutants and greenhouse gas emissions. Crop burning, no, in agricultural areas, crop residue burning causes air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. Open burning of our municipal waste or household waste, even in our backyards, causes air pollution. And dust. So road dust, construction dust can be resuspended in the air and cause harm to the environment and to people. What are some of the trends that we see in our societies today in Asia and in the Philippines? So there is increasing electricity use, and that's not bad at all if the source of our power generation or electricity comes from renewable sources. But as Lyle mentioned, we have a lot of coal-fired power plants already existing and operating, 28 all over the Philippines, and 22 more are in the pipeline. Now, there is a silver lining in that the Department of Energy announced in October 2020 that there is a moratorium on new coal, but this doesn't cover already planned coal-fired power plants. Therefore, we still need to be looking at the impact of the existing and the planned coal-fired power plants. Now, if this were all to become operational, that would be an increase of about 135% in coal capacity in the Philippines. And I might say, emissions from coal-fired power plants can be controlled quite efficiently if there is control technologies that are applied or being used. However, our Clean Air Act has very lenient emission standards that essentially we are allowing old technologies to be built and to operate in the Philippines because we allow very high maximum emission limits from our plants. Now, another clear trend is the rapid motorization and urbanization. So vehicle ownership in our region in Southeast Asia has tripled since the year 2000. But digging deep into the situation in the Philippines, we actually are quite fortunate that we have a very high percentage of public transport use. About 80% of our trips are done by public transportation or mass transit. However, our public transport system, our buses are quite old and are diesel run. Some of them are more than 10 years old and therefore are really smoky vehicles that need to be cleaned up. And what we're seeing is our public transport system isn't also very safe, efficient, and convenient. So what are we seeing in the Philippines, and not just in the Philippines, but in several Southeast Asian countries? You see there large percentage of two-wheeled private or personal mobility devices. So because our public transport system is inefficient, people are pushed towards buying their own personal vehicles. As our economies grow and as our people earn more income, you can bet that these two-wheelers are going to be shifting to passenger vehicles, increasing congestion and increasing more fossil fuel combustion. But there are examples in Asia that we can look towards to see, what could be possible in the Philippines. Shenzhen in China has become the first ever 100% fully electrified mass transit system. So they have 16,000 electric buses and 22,000 electric taxis. And this is a picture of the command center, where they can track the operational, the efficiency of each of the buses. And so this is something that the Philippines should really aim for, especially because we have very high public transport ridership. Now we are slowly moving towards electrification. So my organization, Clean Air Asia, has partnered with UNEP and one of the largest manufacturers of electric 2 and 3-wheelers in China, TailG, in piloting the use of electric 2 and 3-wheelers for parcel and small freight delivery by the Philippine Postal Corporation. The pilot aims to look at what are the barriers in terms of policies. How do we convince even the users within the Philippine Postal Corporation that they should shift from their gasoline two-wheeler to the electric 2 and 3-wheelers? And maybe just to end, I'd like us to explore some of the personal actions we can take, or household actions that we can take. First is, as we said, open burning of household waste is one of the sources of air pollution and can harm your health and our family's health. So we should really try to practice waste segregation, separating your organic waste from your inorganic waste and finding uses for the inorganic waste. What I do at home is that we use the 1 liter soft drink bottles that are empty, and we make it into an eco brick. So all of the small sachets and plastics that we have, that are unavoidable, which we have from the groceries, we cut them. I cut them into pieces immediately after I use them and put them into while they're dry, put them into the 1 liter, Coke or soft drink plastic bottle, and fill it up to a point that it is quite sturdy. And when I accumulate a lot of those, then I'll have a small project in the garden, making it into something that I can plant, vegetables in. So don't burn your garbage. That's because it's harmful for your health, and especially when you have plastics included in what you burn, that's going to release persistent organic pollutants that you don't want to be breathing, because those have very harmful effects to you and to your family. Now, take public transportation if you can, and if it is safe, and walk, walk short distances. You don't have to take a tricycle for short distances. We can actually walk, and where it is safe, try to use a bicycle. If you drive, please practice eco-safe driving. So there are many resources online on how you can do that. And do not idle, meaning, how we've seen vehicles running, but without going anywhere, because we're just waiting for in the parking lot. We just want to use the air conditioning. So that produces a lot of emissions, but doesn't get you anywhere. So that's very inefficient use of gasoline or diesel. And if you have the chance to purchase a vehicle, whether it's a 2-wheeler, a 3-wheeler, or a 4-wheeler in the future, try to invest in buying an electric vehicle. Right now, I find it still a bit expensive in the Philippines because of the lack of purchase incentives. But the smaller vehicles, you can see now a lot of people, even the elderly, use electric, these electric vehicles. Conserve energy simply by turning off lights when you're not needing them. And yes, just use things manually. So in our household, we don't have these hot and cold dispensers, because my husband said the energy that you use is equivalent to having a refrigerator. So I said, okay, let's use one that's a manual pump. And so you can exercise as well as you get your water. consume less. Everything that is produced in the world requires energy. So the more clothes you buy, um, and the more things that we accumulate means that our carbon footprint increases as well. Be informed. There's a lot of material. Share what you know with others, and I agree, definitely organize small groups and advocate for changes to policies. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Can you please give a give some love, please, to Attorney Glenda? Well, her suggestions are very practical, and I also realized burning the garbage. Akala ko kasi, Ma'am Glenda, na nawawala ang aphids pag pinapausukan. Okay, so I think we have to weigh those things up. And now, to hear the reaction, please help me welcome. We are preparing this for the future generation, and the reactor is a child, or she's a grade 12 student, by the way, and she is the president of the student council and the layout artist of the UP Tambuli. That's the school paper of UP Cebu. Friends, please help me welcome our leader for students, Jeremiah. Hi, Jeremiah.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you, Attorney Glenda Batan, for the informative and valuable talk. I really liked how you highlighted your title and every breath we take, reminding all of us how important air really is. It is also good that you said how air pollution affects human life and our environment, such as the examples you gave in Pakistan, then the diseases or risk for children as they grew up. The sources of the sources of air pollution, such as transport emissions, power plants, factories, dust, and crop burning, and also household emissions. These are all present. And imagine how it affects our air. And we breathe that. So I would like to commend what Sir Volvar said a while ago that the youth are a significant part of everything, may it be for our society or our environment. Thus, our ideas could be the hope for the future. Now, in relation to that, to enlighten and give an assurance to all the viewers, my co-youth and co-scholars ng bayan, I would like to ask the question, will the actions that we will do today be enough to prevent the direct impacts of climate change? Or is it a little too late?
Very good question.
Straightforward,
So,
attorney.
yes, and I might need the help of Lyle here. uh, well, as they say, scientists have said that to a certain extent, there's already some impacts that have been committed, meaning that there are, we expect that there will be impacts happening because of previous actions, from the Industrial Revolution, because some of these pollutants like carbon dioxide are retained in the air for long periods of time. And so, however, models have shown, and the scientific community has shown that if we shift the way that we use energy, the way that we transport our goods and transport people, and if the energy structure is changed, but so that we have net zero emissions by the by 2050, then we will be able to attain the goal of the Paris Climate Agreement, which is to have temperature rise no higher than 1.5 degrees C. And so there is hope. And as you can see, from the pandemic, the political will that was shown by our leaders. Did you imagine that you could actually make a city or a country or the world stop to be able to prevent the further spread of COVID-19? No one imagined that that would happen within our lifetime. And yet we know that such political will exists. So it is up to the young people to demand such political will for other existential issues like climate change, biodiversity loss, and air pollution. So it is an answer of hope that I am providing.
Thank you for that, Attorney Batan. Indeed, we are not yet late. And so I hope that the message and the answer of Attorney Batan would reach all the youths and act now for our future. That's all. Thank you.
Wow, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. So nice to hear from a youth and also a person who advocates air quality. And so sad to see all the statistics. Parang Miss Lal showed the statistics and they're so challenging and sad. And now this is another one that the air quality we have in the cities are really very low. And hopefully we can really come up with the Paris something, the treaty on this clear air. It can make a better place for everybody. And now from air, let's talk about walang kaplastikan, no plastic. So this is an advocacy of our third speaker, who is Attorney John Mingito, a managing trustee of the Philippine Earth Justice Center. Friends, please help me welcome Attorney John. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Doc Au. Mayong hapon sa tanan. Good afternoon from Cebu. Coming from the two very esteemed speakers, I am pressured right now. But I'm very happy and excited to share what we know, and I'm learning a lot in this afternoon's activity. So I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if you're able to see that.
Yes, we can. Thank you, Attorney.
Okay. So yes, the title of my presentation is Why Plasticay? An Urgent Call to Ban Single-Use Plastic. So of course, we cannot say no to UP, and of course we cannot say no to the environment. That's why we are all here this afternoon. First, allow me to give you the current situation of plastics, the single-use plastics. This is an overview. We have photos showing you. This one is the poisonous popsicles by Zheng Yuti. An image was made by former national Taiwan University of Art student. The photo is part of his graduation project with two other students. So this one, they visited 100 sites in Taiwan to collect contaminated water and freeze them into indelible, popsicles that we see here. And their goal is to shine a light on unsavory pollutants such as plastic waste and to inspire people to produce less waste. And the other one is an albatross found dead with a belly full of plastic in Midway. And this one is in the USA. And we also have this photo, the heartbreaking sight of a plastic bag suffocating a white stork at a landfill in Spain. And in the Philippines, we see this photo of scavengers burning trash at the Tondo garbage dump in Manila, Philippines. And we have also this photo of an elderly female waste picker which carries a basket full of trash at the dump site in Dumaguete. This is true despite the Solid Waste Management Act, which we are going to discuss later on. So in Cebu, this was taken by a friend in Poblacion Madridejos. This is in Bantayan Island coastline, which is a very famous tourist spot in the Philippines, in Cebu most specifically. But we have this photo of reality check. So these are some of the not so fun facts about plastics. So single-use plastics increased due to the demand for safety equipment now that the pandemic is ongoing. The second one is we have 2.5 million metric tons of mismanaged plastic entering the ocean per year, and 60 billion sachets or 17.5 billion shopping bags per year. So especially in the Philippines, we are a sachet economy. And every time we go to the mall, giputos dyan yung plastic. And only 9% of plastic waste is recycled. The remaining 91%, what are we gonna do with it? So what does the law say? Sa may gisulti sa balaod ani. Ano bang sinasabi ng batas natin dito? So we have, of course, RA 9003, otherwise known as the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000, which provides the necessary policy framework, institutional mechanisms, and mandate to the local government to achieve, number one, waste reduction through establishing integrated solid waste management plans based on reduce, reuse, and recycle. So let's start with the barangay. Ano ba ang dapat gawin ng barangay? What does the law mandate the barangay to do? So the Republic Act 9003 mandates the creation of a barangay solid waste management committee, which shall have the following functions and responsibilities. Number one, the barangay should formulate solid waste management program consistent with the municipality or the city's plan. They should segregate and collection of biodegradable, compostable, and reusable wastes, and establish materials recovery facility. This is very important because each barangay should encourage composting in every sitio, because the lowest barangay is, diba, this is an old balangay pa ni before, and then this is the smallest unit of organization of government in the Philippines. So, and the barangays should also allocate funds, sources of funds for this one, and this is mandated by law. And they are even required to submit monthly report of how they are going. What is mandated of the RA 9003 under the local government solid waste management plan? What is the mandate of the law? So the province and the city or the municipality, through its local solid waste management board, shall prepare its 10-year solid waste management. Interestingly, this was already the law is in 2000, IRR 2001. Today is 2021, celebrate 20 years since the law has been enacted. And it's good to ask our question, sana ba tayo since nalabas ang batas on RA 9003? The law is a very potent tool to better the lives of the people. That is the purpose of the law. Unless it stops, kaya pag hindi na naging maayos ang buhay ng tao, the law is evolving. The law is alive. And this law is an answer to the problem with solid waste management, plastic included. So that's why now let's ask ourselves, 20 years after the law has been enacted, how are we doing? Kumusta na ba tayo sa plastic? Marami pa bang plastic sa ating mga bayan? So what should be the emphasis of the solid waste management plan? The waste management plan shall be the reuse, recycle, and composting of waste generated in the respective jurisdiction. I like what Attorney Glinda mentioned earlier. Na do not throw and especially do not burn your waste. You do composting in your own homes because it will help. It will also serve as maging healthy ang soil mo. And the solid waste management plan of the LGU shall ensure the efficient management of solid waste generated within its jurisdiction. And the plan, of course, shall place primary emphasis on the implementation of all feasible reuse, recycle, and composting programs, while identifying the amount of landfill and transformation capacity that will be needed for solid waste, which cannot be reused, recycled, or composted. So, interestingly, in the IRR of the law, in Internal Rules and Revenue, the DNR is mandated to come up with a non-environmentally acceptable plastics and products. But up until this very day, we are still pushing for them to come up with non-environmentally acceptable plastics and products. And we are, based on studies, the NIAP should come up with the non-environmentally acceptable products or packaging, which refers to products or packaging that are unsafe in production, use, post-consumer use, or that produce or release harmful products. Interestingly, only 9% of the plastics are recycled. So we are now pushing at the source. So if the government agency will come up with the list that are non-environmentally acceptable products or packaging, then matitigil na ang production of these products. That's why we are cutting the source of these products. So because we have been advocating for recycling, use of this plastic products, but only 9% is recycled as of this time. So under the law that we're talking about, it empowers the National Solid Waste Management Commission to prepare a list of NIAPs that the government will ban. But up until this very day, we don't have the complete list as yet. That's why we are pushing for the release of this list so that we will be cutting the source of plastics dun mismo sa kanyang source. So the study found out that the following products are within the definition of the NIAP: the plastic soft drink straws and the plastic coffee stirrers, among other things. So I'll just touch very quickly on the clean air as related to that. The Clean Air Act, or RA 8749, is a comprehensive air quality management policy and program which aims to achieve and maintain healthy air for the Filipinos. As per the presentation of Attorney Glinda, we cannot survive without air for 3 minutes, diba? Ganun lang. So that's why we have to take care also of our air. Why am I talking about this? Because I'd like us to be reminded that this one, prohibited acts, the incineration is actually not allowed under our Clean Air Act. It's prohibited. So what is incineration? The burning of municipal, biomedical, and hazardous waste, which process emits poisonous and toxic fumes, except traditional small-scale method of neighborhood sanitation. But other than that, any form of burning is absolutely prohibited under the Clean Air Act. So especially our plastics, it's very harmful, as what was emphasized early in the previous discussion. Let us not allow harmful substances for us to be able to breathe in by burning these plastics. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what can we do? Is there something that we can do? Well, you don't have to be a lawyer to do something or to be a doctor to do something. These are the things that we can do. As ito yung sabi natin, 3 things the Filipinos can do to support the ban of single-use plastics. So just be reminded of these 3 things. Number 1, you have to start with yourself. So, a change, this is a cliche, but change really starts from oneself. From awareness and a decision to start with oneself, because we cannot influence others unless we are convinced it by ourselves. So what can we do? Resist the single-use plastics. Bring your own mugs. We cannot overemphasize this. When you go to groceries, bring bags. No? I even tell my students now, when you go to any, say for example, 7-Eleven, Rose Pharmacy, or any convenience store, and you are only buying minimal things, or pwede rin mo isud sa imong bag or bitbiton, then do not tell them that you are not going to have it. Do not use plastic, no? So you just resist the use of the single-use plastics. Do not use straws as much as possible. Just resist the single-use plastic. Start with yourself. And insist on reusable products. So resist and insist. You have to resist single-use plastics, your usage. This is within you. And you have to insist on reusable products. Be an advocate. No? When you're an advocate, start with yourself and then to your family and friends. Share your practices to your household. No? Inform your family about it. Inform your inner circle about it. Convince them. Share with them what you know. That's what being an advocate is. And get involved. Volunteer if you have time to different organizations. Support call to ban single-use plastics. And these are the things that I consider the small little things that we can do in order to be able to come up with helping the ban on the single-use plastics. And in effect, helping environment, helping the air, helping climate change to be mitigated. So that's it. That's our short presentation this afternoon. And we are now open for questions. Thank you very much again for this opportunity. May hapon na to.
Thank you very much, Attorney John, and so nice to hear his sense of humor about walang kaplastikan and all those. I would really say the message of Miss Lyle, Attorney John, Attorney Glinda, really resonates to changing of our lifestyle. Okay, now before we have the reactor, there is some greetings. We have some greetings from Dan Cinco. He's from the NCR. We also have Dr. Annabel Maglasang. Hello, Dr. Annabel. and we have Dr. Rasi of Talisay. So now, who is the reactor? Well, the reactor is his classmate in high school and who is now working also in the environment. And he is a graduate of BS Computer Science in UP Cebu. He is the supervising science research specialist of UP Cebu Center for Environmental Informatics. We call it CENV for short. CENV is a spin-off of the Philippine Light Detection and Raging, which is a flood hazard mapping and assessment which run from 2014 to 2017. Now, currently, he and CENV have been working on projects related to water source mapping, mango pest assessment, and biodiversity assessment in Cebu. So friends, please help me welcome Mr. Chito Patino of UP Cebu CENV. Sir Chito?
Thank you, Sir Ao, and then thank you for your enlightening speech, Attorney John Mingito. As said by Doc Ao, he's actually my classmate back in high school. So I am amazed how he transformed from a best actor level theater performer to an environmental advocate and lawyer. So, but seriously, I can totally relate to his discussion, particularly on plastics, because in our work during the flood hazard assessment projects in Western Visayas, usually the culprit that is being tagged is plastics. Though usually, and the problem is somewhat many communities feel helpless with flooding, and that while plastics are being called out as the culprit, a lot of our communities can't do away, in terms of perception, they can't do away with plastic. So, and I think I have to also dwell on, aside from law enactment, I would like to ask, how is the enactment of our laws, environmental laws, doing? And among the questions I would like to ask also is that, what can be done in low-income communities where the buying of sachets is the norm? And second is, with the economic boom in Cebu, we are expecting a lot more solid waste. So how are we preparing for this?
Thank you very much, the ever-brilliant classmate of mine, Sir Chito. Tinuod yun di ay ang gisulti sa reunion, no? Bisan asa maabot, mag-abot gihapon ta diri. I'm very happy for this afternoon's event. Pero gi-chat biya ka Sir Chits, ayaw ko listen-listeras questions, sir. Dito. Anyway, thank you for that reaction, sir. On question on ako lang usa-usahon. Number one, on how are our environmental laws, no? Sakto ba to? How are the enactment of our environmental laws? Well, as part of environmental laws are concerned, they are based on our assessment, they're in place. The problem is with implementation, just like any other laws. So just like what we cited, the RA 9003, the law is very complete. The problem is actual implementation in the ground. That's why what we're doing is we even started the talks with the Ombudsman to come up with an environmental ombudsman, specifically for the implementation of RA 9003 to check on barangay levels if they are in compliant with that, to be more assertive in terms of the actual implementation, because that is really the problem of the law in the Philippines. On the second question as to the communities as a share economy, that's why we are pushing for ban at source, because if plastics or the sachet will be one of the considered by NIA as the non-acceptable, non-environmentally friendly acceptable products, then they will not be allowed to produce such product. That's why we are pushing for the agency to come up with a list and include sachets and plastic in the list of non-environmentally acceptable products, so as to dili na gid siya maabot, hindi na to darating dun sa areas in whichever community, because it's very difficult to stop people from using sachets when at source it is allowed. And on the last question, Sorry, I forgot about it, Sir Cheats. Can you please on the third one?
Cebu is experiencing an economic boom even despite the pandemic. So with economic booms, we usually expect an increase also of solid waste, especially plastics. So what are our plans regarding this? And then, I mean, how can we use the law to somewhat address this?
Okay, thank you for that, Sir Chades, and very timely. But what we are doing at the EJC, at the Philippine Earth Justice Center, is to partner with local governments. As a matter of fact, in Cebu, we have a very good ordinance. In Cebu City, we have a champion in the environment in the person of Councilor Alvin Dizon. No, this actually has already been passed on the ban of single-use plastic. Now we are and another challenge with this is the implementation. So we highlight champions in the local governments, and that's true that as Cebu has been developing ever since. No, it's a developed city in the Philippines. The problem also is with its solid waste. No, it's real. The problem is with also its solid waste, including plastics. That's why we are partnering with different local governments to come up with ordinances at the local level. We are assisting them in terms of science, and we are also helping them craft the law. And I'm very happy to share that Cebu City, one of the highly urbanized cities in the country, has a very comprehensive, which has been recently passed, comprehensive local ordinance on the use of single-use plastics. And the challenge lies on the implementation, just like the other laws. So that's what we continuously do, highlight champions in the community, at the same time help those local governments to come up with their own ordinances. Thank you, Sir Jeets.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And we can please to our speaker, we have John Mingito, and of course, the reactor from UP Cebu Senwi, Mr. Chito Patino. Okay, now we'd like to request all our speakers to be back in the spotlight, and we have some, well, we can entertain 3 or 4 questions for today. First question is from Alan Nazareno. Is there a tax for using plastic bag in the Philippines? Are they taxed in Hong Kong? Okay, so who can answer the question, John or Glenda, Attorney Glenda? Who is being taxed if you're using plastic? Glenda?
John, well, as far as I know, there is no tax on the use of plastic bags, but some cities have imposed, have ordinances. Like if I remember, Quezon City has an ordinance where single-use plastics are not to be used in groceries. So, and then that if groceries do provide single-use plastics, it would be for a fee. So, so there are different variations of how. So this is an example of an economic instrument or a market-based instrument to try to change the behavior of people towards more eco-friendly or environmentally friendly actions. So while before it was almost standard operating procedure, even if you don't ask for it, here comes the person handling your groceries, automatically putting it in a single-use plastic bag. So now it becomes a choice to either bring your own bag or to be given a paper bag to hold your groceries, or to pay for a plastic bag.
So it's like the LG. It depends from the LGU and how they implement such. Okay, and
yes,
Sir John, is it being implemented differently in Cebu City and in the provinces?
Yes, sir. Each LGU has their own ordinance. So Cebu City is different from other municipalities and cities within Cebu province. So I understand Toledo City, which is in the southwest of Cebu, also has an ordinance. on the ban of single-use plastics in their wet markets and the groceries. So they're also implementing that. We are checking on champions in the different areas, and it's also good to know of what is happening in Quezon City, as what was mentioned by Attorney Glinda. So because instead of highlighting those who are not compliant, what we're doing is we're highlighting those who are compliant, the best practices around the country, that it can be done and it should be done.
Wow, thank you very much.
In Japan, I'd just like to add, in
Lyle.
Japan,
Yes, Lyle.
Grocery stores are charging for the use of plastic.
And is it a lot?
As well as in California. California
Like,
charges for the use of plastic.
Yeah, I see. Thank you. And we're also doing it in Cebu City. Some department stores are having that. This is a question for Ms. Lyle. This is about the indigenous people. It is okay. So, okay. There's so many questions that I. Okay, so it's about how can we? What? If I could. What type of renewable resources can we use with that will not harm the indigenous people living in the Philippines? Are there?
Well,
some?
I saw that question. So the source has, I mean, before you conduct a renewable energy project, you have to perform several studies: cultural, economic. We have archaeological impact studies. We call this impact studies before of the existence of a renewable project within the area. And if, as an investor, I would question if it's going to impact indigenous population. So again, it's part of awareness. If the indigenous people are greatly affected, I would advocate that I would advocate for a champion to raise their concern. But like I said, the dam or the hydro is not only the resource. So I would evaluate the situation first.
Okay, thank you very much. And there's another question about what is the feasibility of having this environmental ombudsman, Attorney John? Will it happen?
What is the
you mentioned about this
feasibility.
environmental? Yeah. Will it happen soon? Like, it depends on the leader.
Okay, sir. In one of our cases, we see the need. This is on the legal side. We see the need of lawyers or prosecutors who are experts in the environment, because the prosecuting environmental cases is also a challenge in the Philippines for lack of expertise. So we had before an environmental, we have environmental prosecutors. So what they did at Glinda is that they are a specialized environmental prosecutor. So for environmental cases, they are going to handle it. So that they'll be able to take care and of the procedure. But the environmental ombudsman, so we already wrote a letter to the ombudsman to come up with environmental ombudsman. This is along with other champions of the environment, but this has not been done yet. But we are hoping to have it done specifically only for RA 9003 as a start. Meaning to say, the ombudsman will send out letters to all the barangays in terms of their compliance, and then to check on that level, because in that way they will be reminded of what the law is requiring of them. But as of now, it has not yet been done, but we are hoping to do it, Sir Al.
Wow, thank you very much. And well, that ends our final question. Parang it's bitten. We wish to have more time, but hopefully, I mean, we have lots of good reactions from our students who are watching also via YouTube. And thank you very much for sharing all your experience, best practices on what we can do about this climate change. Attorney Glenda, Ms. Lyle, and Attorney John, we have some certificate of recognition for you. Hi, Michelle. Okay, so this is on behalf of the, okay, so we have, so it's a certificate of appreciation. This is from UP Cebu, and of course, that's the UP High School Cebu Association. It's the Tunog, UP Tunog, TLRC, UP Senvi, and Office of the Continuing Education Pahinungod, certificate of appreciation to Ms. Lyle Palicano Castro in appreciation for being our resource speaker for the Tunog Bulawan webinar series, Climate Change Affects You and Me, Pagbag-o sa Kinaiya para sa Kinaiyahan, and held today and given on the 22nd day of September 2021, signed by Professor Jera Gumalal, the coordinator of UP Cebu TLRC, Alan Nazareno, the co-chair of the UP High School Cebu Golden Jubilee, and our principal, Dr. Catherine Rodell. Thank you very much, Ms. Lyle. And we have the same token of love to Attorney Batan Baterina. Thank you very much. And all the love, the pride of Aluginsan, John Mingito. Thank you very much, John. And of course, to our reactor, thank you very much, Nina Catherine Alfreche, for being our reactor. And we also have the certificate to Jeremiah Kija Balmore, and of course, finally, Mr. Chito Patinio. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po. And we always end with a photo op. Okay, please open your camera and we smile. Hi, Lyle. This is how we do it in the Philippines, Lyle. Okay, so Shell, please take a picture and open your cam, and everybody, please. Okay, thank you.
There are six
so
slides.
We'll be sharing to you
6 slides,
Okay.
everyone. So for the I don't know which slides you are in, so just smile when I say go.
Okay, thank you very much. So please
For
smile.
the first
Hello, Gemma.
slide, smile. Second slide, 1, 2, 3, smile. And then third slide, 1, 2, 3, smile. Fourth slide, 1, 2, 3, smile. Fifth slide, 1, 2, 3, smile. And for our last slide, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, we're done.
Okay, so please stay tuned for the evaluation form. The link will be pasted here in the chat. So please find time to evaluate, because that's very important for us to improve. And also, after your evaluation, in less than 5 minutes, you shall get your certificate. So here are the reminders. Our evaluation and processing of e-certificates are automated. Please make sure you type in the correct spelling of your name, since it will reflect in your e-certificates. Also, please be mindful of typing your email address, because it is where you shall receive your certificates. And we suggest, you keep a copy of your responses in evaluation for you to verify if you made mistakes. And normally, I'm sorry, it takes less than 3 minutes after submitting to receive the certificate. Should you not be able to receive it by 5 p.m. today, just send a reply message with your concern to the confirmation email we sent, and that is msgaloria@upcebu.edu.ph, and we will manually send you the certificate on the next working day. So thank you very much. So now, yes, we always start from the beginning from our principal, and now the person behind the planning of all this webinar series. He is not in Cebu now, he's in Hong Kong, but he left his heart and love in Cebu. Please help me welcome the co-chair of the UP Cebu High School Alumni, the Alumni Golden Jubilee. Big hand, please, to the creative, the science, the man of science. No tax in whatever, the plastic in Hong Kong. Alan Nazareno. Hi, Sir Alan.
Thank you, Doc. On behalf of the UP High School Cebu Golden Jubilee Execom, I extend my thanks to everyone who attended today's webinar. This is the first webinar, as we mentioned, in the series of the Tunog Bulawan webinar series, celebrating 50 years of excellent education at UP High. Thank you to the organizing team led by the vibrant Dr. Aurelio Vibar. Thank you so much to the back end too. Everyone, too many names to call out, but thank you so much on behalf of the Execom. But I also especially thank our alumni sharers, Lyle Pelicano Castro, class 79, Glinda Batan Baterina, class 87, and John Mingito, class 01, for reminding us that climate change is indeed the defining crisis of today. But we as a society, especially the Philippine society, can win in this climate emergency race, and that is through a change of mindset. And that change of mindset should be founded on a solid scientific-based education, which is what is happening here in our webinar series. So I am sure that all our tunubers here, all graduates of UP Cebu, UP High Cebu, the alumni can relate when I say that the greatest gift that UP High has given to all of us is the legacy of education. And I truly thank and appreciate our sharers for giving back to UP High. Now, I take this moment just to quickly invite all of you to continue supporting the webinar series. Our next session is scheduled in October when the webinar will focus on the advocacy for October, which is Tunog Negosyo or entrepreneurship. And it will be that's a topic that that Dr. Aurelia and I are going to explore. And we will give you more details of that when we start promoting this October webinar in the next few days. Again, daghang salamat sa inyo tanan. Hello and happy Mid-Autumn Festival Day here. Bye.
By the way, designed by Ala Nazareno. Okay, that's the Node TV. Okay, so thank you very much. Evaluation are here on the link so you can get your certificates. And now we always end with UP Naming Mahal. UP Naming Mahal is the anthem of of all UP systems. So everyone, you can just take a look and pay respect to UP Naming Mahal. Michelle? Okay, so once again, thank you very much for attending our webinar on climate change. And this is part of the UP Cebu Alumni Association celebration of our UP High School Silver Jubilee Anniversary. Thank you very much. Have a safe day and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Salamat. Okay, thank
Salamat.
you. Congratulations, LRC.
Salamat. Congratulations. Congratulations, everyone.
Okay.
Be reminded that our evaluation will be open for only 30 minutes. Thank you so much. Daghang salamat sa tanan.
Thank you.